Hello, I'm Chocolate, and this is the companion video to my 12.5 gear recommendations. There's been a slight update where instead of having just rank dash number of pieces equipped, it's now going to be rank dash minimum number of pieces equipped point maximum number of pieces equipped to make things more compact, since I really like this thing that some CN guides are doing. So in practice, for example, for Kaori, 12-4.5 means she's rank 12 with 4 pieces at minimum and 5 pieces at maximum. 4 pieces without mid-left, and obviously if you equipped mid-left then it's 5 pieces. I'm also going to use this as an opportunity to talk about some of the more standout units and give some insight in what I think their uses are going to be, and maybe some of the more unintuitive stuff going on, and also some of the upcoming UE that are going to be important, although I have a UE video in the works as well. So starting from top to bottom, Dima, she already was rank 12 and she's gonna stay rank 12 since she's PvP only pretty much. She's gonna add on the middle-life piece for tankiness. And she's gonna get UE with the next batch, and that's gonna be very strong for her, and add one more really powerful tank to our arsenal with her defensive shield. What's gonna happen is she is able to counter or help counter play against some of the more oppressive comps we see right now, for example with Shinu or Mugi. That's something she can help with, so that, for example, you don't have to only rely on Nuyere to help with Mugi in some cases. Next one up, Miyako. At this point, she can move up to 12.5 because the extra tankiness she gets now kind of outweighs the heal boost she loses. She still doesn't sustain quite as much, even though the HP she does get from her heals is a little bit more valuable thanks to having more def stats. However, it still doesn't really match up, so she has slightly less sustain at rank 12 still, but thanks to overall being more tanky, unless a fight goes the full 90 seconds duration, she is going to be way more tanky, and I think that's much more important so that she can actually survive the initial burst damage that's going to be put out, especially by those new mage meld teams with Anna. Now for Kuka, she already was rank 12. Rank 12 is one of her best ranks, so this will only makes her stronger. And one thing I've noticed, if you don't have Ruka and also need to run some weird routing comps, then she might see use in phase 3, the CB. Now for Jin, she has 2 options. Either she can stay rank 11 as the pure support tank, or she can go up to rank 12 for being generally more tanky. And also, because the heal with her UE now has a buff added onto it, you want to ensure that it goes to the correct target, which usually isn't Jun. So in cases where rank 11 Jun wouldn't be tanky enough to get the buff on a DPS instead of herself, she can go up to rank 12, do a little bit less healing, but in return actually get it on the right target. Alternatively, you can just level up her UE if you do value the heal amount. So for Kaori, yeah, for her she can equip mid-left if it's necessary to make her survive, but otherwise I think it's kind of prudent to leave it off, even though for this CB it seems like there's not that many tight UB timings where she will lose them with 12.5, but obviously better to err on the side of caution until all the timelines are finalized for you, and make sure you don't brick her beforehand, because it does get quite annoying if you have to kind of pick routes according to which Kaori you have. So you can just, if there's timelines where 12.5 doesn't work, you can just keep her at 12.4, and perhaps once you're sure you're not going to run any of those, you can go 12.5 to min-max damage, because After the CB she probably just goes 13-3, so there's no need to worry about it anymore after that. New Yurei, still rank 11 has the highest TP boost in case you want that. If you're using her mainly against comps that don't really dish out much damage against her. However, the use that I found with her, most of the time she does want to be tanky and oftentimes won't survive until her first UB. So now with rank 12-5 she does get enough tankiness that I think it's worth going up with her. Even though she loses TP boost, it allows her to get to UB more often, and especially in some matchups where she tanks, for example, HG Nobu UB, she can actually survive that with 12-5, and it's a really critical part of making those matchups work, where you don't get the execute on your new array and the team damage doesn't go through. And yeah, that's really good for her in my opinion, although you're gonna notice it sometimes in those low damage matchups. For Peko, again, she's kind of like putting 12-5, she loses some sustain, although the overall tankiness makes it worth it in my opinion. Now for Ruka, this CB is kind of the payoff CB for her, so if yours is still 10-3 or less, that's good, especially if EX is at level 1, then you can run one of the best timelines in the CB. Otherwise, there's various other builds she can go to, just check which timelines you're going to run, what she needs to be at, and put her up for that, in my opinion. That's kind of what's the best way to use her, because this CB is where she is at her best and where she's going to shine, so she should be built, and after that just, yeah, kind of taken as is, and if she works, she works, if she doesn't work, that's too bad. At least she was at her best this time and you were able to use her. So for Ruka, just put her up to whatever you need for the timelines you're going to run and deal with the aftermath after, because otherwise you're just going to have her permanently at a low rank and never going to use her. So I don't know what's worse, bricking a unit for a potential theoretical timeline that might come in 2 years, or never using her at all and just letting her rot in your box. For Nozomin, she's in a bit of a tight spot because she really does want rank 11 for the accuracy and heal boost, since personally I use her mainly as a support tank where she really wants the consistent stuns and she also wants the higher heals. However, I can see for some who have UE unlocked and maxed that do use her mainly as a main tank that they might want to rank 12 her, but personally I don't think it's worth it. The stun is just so powerful at the moment, with the accuracy especially, that she really does want rank 11 right now still. Now for Muimi. She's one of those units where TP gain is critical, and making sure that she gets TP breakpoints is very vital to making her work properly. So 12-4 is the way to go in my opinion, especially because she won't go up immediately with rank 13-3. So whatever you build her to for this CB also has repercussions on the next CB. And for next CB I can already tell there are going to be some timelines where she does need 12-4, just like this CB. However, there are cases, since the main thing about her tankiness isn't really how soon she gets her first UB, but how long she is going to last in UB form, due to the fact that she is most likely going to be tanking. And what's going to happen there is she will, due to 12-4 and 12-5, sometimes get one extra action while in UB form, Tenro Hadanken. So if you do need her cycle to be coming out earlier, since she always does the Death Shred and then the knockback after her UB ends, so if you need that earlier, you might be able to equip the midlife piece to lessen her TP generation and get her out of UB form earlier. So that's one option. For some timelines that may be required, please make sure to check that you can actually do that, that you don't need 12-4 for all the other timelines you are going to run. Perhaps it's possible to borrow one and someone will 12-5 her and just be put aside, especially to only run those timelines where 12-5 is fine. Otherwise, all the normal members, in my opinion, should be having 12-4, but obviously in special cases I can see some going to 12-5, but I'm not gonna add it here because it's kind of too fringe in my opinion. Now for Makoto, we have more incentive to rank up to R12. R11 should be the box standard Makoto at the moment. Rank 9 should only be reserved for special Makotos being kept in reserve by the clan to use on those rank 9 timelines, especially rank 9-5. That's kind of where she's going to be seeing her most use. Rank 9-6 isn't really as necessary, but still, if you want to keep some. But obviously, per timeline used, it's about 100k damage loss when you compare rank 9 to rank 11. And rank 12 at this point is enough of a damage gain that I think it's worth min-maxing for, so whenever it's possible, we should be borrowing rank 12 Makoto and perhaps even going up to rank 12 with more than just the borrow Makoto, because in some cases you can run Makoto on multiple teams with rank 12, or you won't be able to borrow her and should be using your own where rank 12 works. That's just something for a clan to figure out, and I'm not gonna dictate what you should be doing with that. New Year Hyori, I've updated her to core now, because since it's triple physical meta in CB, she's just going to be one of the units that are at the top of the list for units to use on the third physical team, or kind of as a role player if you need a specific unit with positioning or what buffs and what have you. So Hyori really strong now, and she's best at just 12-5, no real concern there. However, if you are being very prudent, you might keep her at 4-star, but personally I think she can just go 12-5, 5-star max for all the timelines that I've seen. And yeah, just if you have her, very nice, you're gonna see her be used a lot this time. Akino, I'm not gonna go into all these units, but just rank 12, not much to say here. Matsuri was rank 12, is rank 12, she wants the extra tank stats, so 12-5. Vieriko, kind of unconventional here, the 4.5 isn't referring to mid left for her, it's referring to mid right, because the right gear in the middle is an axe that has HP drain. So what's going on with her is that she scales with low HP. So what should be happening is that she gets to a low HP level and kind of stays there, so that the lifesteal is adjusted to where she just lifesteals enough with each UB that she doesn't die from incoming damage and her self buff damage, but that she doesn't actually heal enough to get her out of that low HP state. And yeah, whether you gear the mid-right and how far you refine it is personal preference in my opinion, depending on how risk averse you are. If you just want to go full max damage, you can leave it off if yours is 5-star, and just depending on whether it works with the timeline, of course. But otherwise, if mid-right is equipped and fully refined, you should be relatively safe even at 4-star with her, depending on the timeline. So yeah, she's going to be very important next CB. I've kind of put it as core tech unit, and I think you're going to see why if you do more research into CB13 teams and allocations. Now for X-Ayane, she is absolute core for CB13. Can't really play it without her, to be honest. Each missing X-Ayane is around a 1 million damage loss per day, so not really good there. Yeah. Not much to say there. If yours is still 11.6, there might be an option to leave her there, especially if there's a timeline where 11.6 is more consistent or better than 12.5. And as I assume some will be borrowing her if they don't have her, depending on what a clan does with the ex-Ayane lads, then might be worth keeping an 11-6 Ayane for borrows, but otherwise I assume everyone who already had her and already built her is going to have 12-5, and that's also what I've seen her be best in use. So yeah, for her, if you have her, now's the latest time to build her because she's really critical for CB13. Now for Mugi, at this point I don't consider R9 Mugi viable anymore. She just doesn't do enough damage, she really isn't tanky enough, and she just is very inconsistent with how she doesn't have any accuracy. So for Mugi personally, I think we should just go to rank 12. Now Hyori, 12-5, not really worth using her if she doesn't work at that, and even then, despite me putting in some comps here, I think she's really more of a substitute character, but I assume not, or only few people are going to have ex-Ayane and New Year Hyori to run all optimal teams, so for the vast majority of players she's going to be just one of those flex DPS units that's going to see use on the third physical team in phase 1 and 2. And yeah, for that, 12-5, perfectly fine. Misogi, 12-5, not much to say. Ayane, 12-5. Tamaki, also 12-5, not really much to say here. And now for Tomo, kind of in a situation like Muimi, where she is really reliant on her TP generation with how her UB provides a buff. So for her it's pretty important to stay 12-4 for this CB and for next CB with how things shake out. And she's also a very important unit, even though she's not really a top 3 DPS anymore. She's still at the point where we do want to use her on every single route. And yeah, I can't really imagine her not being used, even though we don't have her UE yet and we're not gonna have it next CB either. She's still a very strong DPS and I don't see her falling off, at least until after CB15. Also, she's not gonna go up to R13, which is kind of the main reason she really doesn't want to have midlife equipped, because having it off is also important for CB14. Now for Eriko, kind of falling off now, but still she can be used, but she has so much leeway with how much TP she has and how her timings work that 12-5 is perfectly fine. And honestly, this 4 or 5 is just for the future, where sometimes she may want rank more 4 stars, but personally I think 5 stars is just the way to go if you have the DA, but at this point I don't think it's really worth putting DA into her at the moment. Just save them up, and if during summer you need 5-star, then maybe do it then. For Eriko, so now, actually I haven't even updated this, my own thing. So for her, it depends for this CB specifically which timelines you run and where you borrow her, because in some cases you may need your own 12-4 Eriko, and in other cases yours can just go to 12-5, and since it is a quite nice damage increase for her, it's worth min-maxing that. So just check out which roads you are going to run and where you are going to use your own Eriko and which one she should go to. So yeah, for her, if you're not sure, just leave her 12-4. Damage loss is kind of acceptable in my opinion, and still if you equip it, she does go to 13-3 next gear update, so it's not a big issue if she does have midlife equipped. As Pekko, just 12-5 max at this point. The 3 TP boost she loses isn't that big of a deal at this point. She really wants the extra damage and tankiness, and she's really nicely positioned at the moment against many of these cleave teams, especially once Dima UE comes in. She does get nice power boost, or not really power boost, but kind of position in the meta as it is, because She really does have some nice matchups herself. Now for Kurumi, another time like with V Eriko, where this isn't really referring to midlife. For her it's about the H Misaki turbo comp, where the initial TP boost target depends on which one between the first and third position has higher TP boost, so you want Kurumi at a lower TP boost than the third position, which usually is Hatsune with 5 TP boosts. So at rank 12, which she should be now, if you gear top right, she will have more than 4 TP boost. So if you are using her in that comp, just leave top right off, but if you're not using that comp, then she can just go rank 12 with everything geared and max refined. Now for Jita, so she's kind of an oddball, we're not really using her at the moment, and there is some consideration with rank 11 here. The thing is, at the moment she doesn't have enough TP gain from her skill to reach the proper cycle without incoming damage at rank 12. So that's kind of one thing, but the only real times she should be used at the moment is when she gets incoming damage and can actually reach her cycle with rank 12, because rank 11 isn't really enough damage. However, the main consideration for why she should be rank 11 is that during CB 15, when she got UE on other servers, there was an option on one of the multi-target bosses where with rank 11 she has so much incoming damage that she can get UB on an even earlier action and cause an early break, which is a mechanic for multi-target bosses that is really important for how much damage you put out. So, all that said, it's very unlikely that Global gets Jita UE in time for CB15. So this whole consideration is just dependent on whether you think it's actually worth keeping her at rank 11 until then. Personally, obviously, it's worth it because she isn't really used and there's no point intentionally breaking her for no reason. So rank 11 it is. Rei. So for her, I've put her at rank 12 4 unconditionally, because I really don't think she should have midlife geared right at the moment. Even though 4-star isn't really a point and not having max UE isn't really worth it either, I do think it's worth just making sure she does function for all timelines, because she is a shredder and losing function on her is kind of a big deal sometimes. So yeah, she doesn't go up to 13.3 immediately. She has really nice TP boost at rank 12, so that's another issue why I really don't think midlife should be equipped, because it doesn't really add too much damage to her, and she's kind of vital in this triple physical meta. So yeah, just leave midlife off for now. If you're really 100% sure she works on all your timelines with midlife gear, then sure, you can put it on, but otherwise I don't think really it's worth it or worth the risk. Now for Shizu, I've heard she's really nice with UE, and she can go to 12.5 because with UE maxed and 12.5 she does make a nice frontal tank for comps that want to be a little bit closer to the opponent and don't really use Lima, for example. But as a pure support tank, rank 11 is still a little bit better because it does heal more. But yeah, she can go either way depending on preference, and if you do use Shizuru, I think you've kind of got an idea of what you want from her. Chrissy now, I kind of see most Chrissys go to rank 12 because the way her UB is used in her cycles generally isn't tight at this point, or in general anymore, so for her the loss of the TP boost generally isn't much of an issue. However, obviously, if you want to be extra safe, you can leave her at rank 11, because there could be some timelines where rank 12 causes issues, and we can't really borrow her much of the time. At this point it's mostly Makoto and Eriko borrows, sometimes Chrissy and Muimi, but that's kind of more the exception rather than the rule. So once confirmed that the timelines you are going to be running work with 12.5, I think it's fine going up, but otherwise she should be staying rank 11 at the moment. However, I do expect most to go up, because for Chrissy with her multipliers, the damage bonus is just worth so much that, yeah, maybe some can be kept rank 11, but I don't really see it happening. She's just so reliant on having extra crit modifiers and damage modifiers from P-attack that she does want to be min-maxed for damage. In this case, that means having a higher rank. So yeah, but proceed with caution, obviously, as usual with all these core critical characters. Kurumi rank 12, Mimi rank 12, Shinobu should still stay at rank 11.5, and yeah, this is just in preparation for Minotaur CB, where if yours is 5-star, as you should be for most people, then make sure S1 is at 108 at most, and she still stays rank 11, otherwise you won't be able to use her on C5. For 4-star, she can have maxed S1, that's kind of one of the perks of her, and she is nicer at the support role at 4 stars. But yeah, with her UE, now she is a core unit. Make sure you have max level on UE, otherwise she won't work on all timelines. And yeah, it's one of those really important units now. Vishizu, yep. So for her, at the moment, she can just be rank 9 until she needs to go up to rank 12. I don't really see the thing with rank 9 for her. I think most after the CB, almost all of them should be at rank 12, to be honest, unless the clan wants to keep like a small contingent of ranked 9 Shizu in case there's one timeline that needs her, so that they can allocate all those rank 9 Shizus to her. But honestly, personally, I think all active accounts are going to be rank 12, if I'm gonna be honest. And yeah, just gear her however high she needs to be to work. Most likely it's going to be 12.4 without mid left. For one specific timeline, she does need the mid left to be geared and at 1-star refine. However, that's something, it's more of a really specialized timeline where I don't really see everyone running it, maybe a few people per clan if you're at the very top end. So yeah, be aware if you do go that route. You will need to watch out for her level, and she won't always work for all timelines. I haven't really seen many where 12.5 or 12.6 in that case doesn't work, but they are there from time to time. For example, CB15, the totem pole, there's some issues with 12.6, but other than that, in general, she should be usable, and there's always going to be a timeline where she works even at 12.6. At most, you're going to have to lower her level a little bit, but yeah. For her, as with all these critical support units, just gear her up only as much as necessary to have the highest range of timelines available to you. Mahiro, 12.5. Yukari, she probably should go up to rank 12 for almost everyone now. It's one of her best ranks overall. She can stay there basically forever, at least until max rank update or some really stuff that kind of forces your hand, like phase 4 being introduced and stuff like that. But rank 12 is really high TP boost for her, so very nice rank. So make sure you only equip the gear that's absolutely necessary, which in terms of what she wants at minimum is top right and mid right. Mid right at 4-star refine. However, you can generally refine mid right to 5-star and gear the bottom left without many issues. Bottom right and mid left are purely defensive, so those should absolutely only be equipped if you do need those, and I don't see that happening right now. However, in the future there are going to be Yukari timelines where she tanks, and you probably do want to equip more defensive gear for those at that point. So yeah, for now, just as usual, only gear the minimum required items. Monica, 12.5, not much to say. Ninon, 12.5, she's really nice with UE now. does a lot of damage and has that little bit of extra chunk to keep her alive. Mifuyu 12-5. This time, if you run certain mage teams, she is usable as a substitute, so if you are a fan, you may be able to run her. Ilya, for her this time, it's another one of those cases where with the mid-left piece it adds MDEF, so you can adjust how much damage she does to herself and how much TP she generates and also how much damage she takes. So it's one of those cases where it's important to confirm beforehand which equip status you want for her, whether you want it off or on and how highly refined. So that's something for timelines to figure out, and then just gear it however you need it for the timelines you are running with her. Saren 12-5, nothing much here. Ana doesn't care about TP gain at all. UB is a DPS loss, so she can just go to max damage 12-5. 8 Shinobu 12-5. At this point, she doesn't have full 100% accuracy against pudding at rank 12 with rank 12, but I do think the incidental sometimes where she misses pudding once is worth the extra damage and tankiness and all of that. For Esmihuyu, rank 12, regular Kokoro still rank 10. If yours is 10-6 and you want to keep the option open of running the X-Chica loop doing CB19, which is Glutton, then make sure to keep her below level 124. I have 121 for safety here, but she could go up to 123 at most. However, yeah, it's, in my opinion, very unlikely that Global gets to run this loop, because we would need Neneka 1 CB earlier than we are kind of forecast to get her at our current pace. So yeah, kind of unlikely we get it, but still, in my opinion, worth to keep in mind. But if you just don't care about the loop or don't think it's going to materialize and you don't want to keep her at low level, then that's fine. But other than that, 12-6 should stay at 123 or 121 for safety, and all others should be careful still. Rank 12-2 can just go all the way up, no issues. S-Kokoro, just as it was, 12-2 up to 12-5, depending on how tanky you want her. She can even go to 5 stars in some cases, where some of the timelines where she tanks doing phase 3 in a tank swap scenario, she did want rank 5, 5 stars, I mean, either 5 stars or rank 11. So you're going to see some purple S-Kokoros in top clans, or specifically the top clan at the moment. Other than that, next up, Rin, she's going to get her UE with the next batch, and that's what puts her into major use from now on, or from then on in CB. She is going to be used from time to time, especially during CB 15, but other than that, she's kind of a role player who just has 1 or 2 timelines per CB where she's useful. For PvP, also one of the mainstay units, and yeah, rank 10, she's a spare user, so that's her best TP stats. She also has nice heal boost at that rank, so that's kind of where she wants to stay. For CB, you really want to rank 10, because there are some timelines that really only work at rank 10, but higher ranks generally aren't much of an issue. It's just that she isn't really as good at higher ranks than at rank 10. So that gold Rin is the way to go, in my opinion. Mitsuki, not much to say here, rank 12, 5. Akari, kind of pushed out of mage comps at the moment, or at least most mage comps. She's still useful in some, but we're not running many, so right now, even though she just got her UE, there's not really much to use her in, but still, she is used from time to time, so make sure she is still in working condition, and in the future she's going to see a lot more use and is going to be one of those units that comes in every now and then and is critical in running a timeline. So yeah, for now, just don't touch, bring her up to whatever a timeline demands of her, but I don't see her being used in a tank position right now. And even next CB, where she was used as a tank in other servers, but we probably won't be able to run those timelines, so yeah. For now, just probably leave her as is, because all the timelines I've seen work with any build of Akari that we currently should be having. Yori, 12-5. Yeah. It's one of those rare cases where a PvP unit wants TP retain more than TP boost, because she does hit her first UB at the same cycle without incoming damage, but it does speed up subsequent cycles a lot. So rank 12, really nice for her, especially with the increased damage output, and yeah, really nice if you've invested in her. Enjoy her, she's got a really nice positioning against many of those cleave teams. Age pudding, kind of like Mugi, rank 9 really isn't viable anymore. The lack of any accuracy whatsoever just makes her very inconsistent against her main targets. So rank 9 just doesn't do much damage, is inconsistent, and also the times she does take damage she really gets chunked and can sometimes just outright die without actually doing anything, even if she doesn't get hit by something like a Chrissy UV. So yeah, for her, rank 12 is the way to go now in my opinion. Arisa, still one of those really good DPSs that, unless you have a perfect box and are on a route where she doesn't see use, she is going to be used every time still, thanks to triple physical in phase 1 and 2. And yeah, you can leave mid-left off for safety, but it's just a case of figuring out which timelines you're going to run. If 12.5 is an issue for any of those, just leave it off, but otherwise she can just have it on and be happy with that. But yeah, just to be prudent, just leave it off for now, but gearing it isn't much of a big deal if it is for damage optimization. Now Anne is still a bit of a ways off, but she's kind of the critical mage that's gonna bring the mage team back into usefulness for all phases, because she does about as much DPS as a normal DPS unit like Kyoka and Skiaru, but also is a full-fledged support with very powerful buffs. So yeah, she just amps the damage on the mage team to the point where it's going to be better than most third physical teams. For competitive CB, it's important to have your own, either for no borrows or to borrow another specialized unit. And yeah, she can be used at 3 stars, especially in those cases where she wants to be mainly support and there's a lot of incoming damage. However, most of the time she can go to 4 star for extra damage, and in case she tanks, sometimes even 5 star, but that's not really a thing outside of some borrow scenarios. So most should be 4 star, some 3 star, but yeah, if you don't have her, gonna be kind of difficult a lot of the time, and most competitive clans probably will only allow few vital people to skip her if they are really low in gems. So yeah, even after Muimi Pool, we're not really done with the pulls yet before summer, and really is very critical and really important to have. Now Ru, many think this is a joke unit. She is not a joke unit, even though it looks like it, especially if you look at the times where she was run. But yeah, once again they found use for her, where in certain loops she was able to be used as a DPS and kind of subbed in for some units in some cases, or other times was for some reason just the optimal unit to use. And the builds she was used in were really weird. Like one was rank 7 with level 53 and 3 stars, so, and others were like 4 stars with also very specific builds. She's a really weird unit, but what I really want to say here is it's worth farming her and iceboxing her, as in just getting her shards. Don't build her, don't star her up yet, just leave her untouched, and once you have a timeline where she can be used and she's going to be useful, then That's when you can build her up for, and you're going to be very happy to have her. Now we get to the archers. So Reno, just 12-5. Honestly, her UE is kind of nice, but it doesn't have the big impact it had on other servers. So yeah, she's better outside of her cannon comp, but still, yeah, just if you have it, play around with it a little bit. I think it's nice. Another one of those cleave units that's out of range of other cleavers, but still, Mugi can sometimes make her life a little bit difficult, same as H Shinobu. But other than that, those two, she is one of those really nice kind of multi-role units where she can kind of dish out frontal DPS over a long battle if she kills off the backline or the midline with her AoE on the UB. Her self buff gets her to the point where she can DPS down most tanks almost on her own, either with extra DPS support or with some stuns to keep healing down and stuff like that. Suzuna, I don't really see her use, but still 12-5. Shorty, kind of the same. If you're like seriously lacking on DPS units, she can come in some cases, but yeah, 12-5 for her as well. Yo, still, rank 12 loses so much TP boost and retain. Rank 11 is just better. Unless for some ungodly reason you really want to have her UB in action later. I don't know why you'd want to do it, but it's not the weirdest thing that could happen, so yeah. Still, rank 11 for everyone else who isn't a weirdo. Suzume, 12-5. Kasumi, her banner, I'm not sure whether her banner is going to be before next CB or not, but still, it won't have any influence on CB, and she won't have any influence on CB for a long time. In fact, she can be safely farmed from node and event until then, because her main use is with Nyaru. So once Nyaru is out, Kasumi is going to come in, because she just shreds a lot of bosses from full MDev to 0 MDev alone, so you won't have to run any other dev shredders aside from her, and you have more slots open to support Nyaru herself. What that means, however, is that because the dev shred is on her UB and that's the only part of her kit she needs for CB, she really wants a maximized esports build, ideally just not being built at all until there's Nyaru CBs. So yeah, if you're a competitive CB player, I recommend just don't pull her, don't touch her, just farm her for later on. And yeah, if you're a pure PvP player, then I suppose go ham, you can just build her up and have her be strong, but don't expect her to be the invincible defense machine she has been on early service, because at this point I think most of the Kasumi defenses are easily solved, and her main reason why she is really strong is those attack comps where she can just disable or trivialize some defense setups just on her own, and you can throw in any other 4 units to take down the tanks and chew through the team. Yeah, if you do build her up for PvP as a CB player, yeah, well, she can work in some timelines. In fact, she's going to work on some timelines still. It's going to be kind of an effort to find those, or at least allocate you to those, so don't expect any competitive clans to welcome you with open arms after Nyaru comes out if you have PvP Kasumi, because she is very critical, and having to allocate around someone who bricks her is not the easiest and funnest thing to do. So yeah, be very mindful of that before you do anything with her. Misato, now for her, she can just be still left untouched for now, in my opinion, at best. if you do use her, I guess that's fine still. There's not really much danger of bringing her for anything at this point, but still, just be careful with her. Be aware that there is some potential for her use where she does want to stay at least with low UP level, and ideally maybe just everything in general. So min-maxing her for lowest stats possible where she still works is the way to go, I think. Especially since she doesn't really do much damage at all on her own, so just making her survive and function is just fine in my opinion. Nanaka, actually I'm gonna update this because... 1 second. For Nanaka, there is now a consideration. So she loses 2 TP retain at rank 12 and last CB. It really caused some timing issues, but due to the fact that mage teams aren't really used much this CB, and the times they are used, she doesn't lose any timings from having rank 12. It really shouldn't be much of an issue, and actually she should probably go up depending on what you use her in. However, still, due to how many issues rank 12 caused last CB, I'm still very cautious about her and going up, because rank 12 really was an issue where she just lost a full UB from having rank 12, so yeah. Those 2 TP retain are a bit to work around. But yeah, if you can confirm rank 12 works fine with all your timelines, then knock yourself out, go rank 12, maximize the damage in the times she is used. And considering for the general player base, I assume most will be borrowing her anyway at this point, since only a few have 3-star and up built by themselves, then I suppose it's just a matter of the clan anyway and how they build the Burrow Nanaka. New Year Yui, for her, still just don't touch unless used. There's going to be a case where she might be borrowed on C2, where you may need a low S1 level in Yui in some cases, and if yours is maxed, then you can just borrow one. Or borrow one of the units that is affected by high S1 level, which is most likely just Kyoka if she's 5-star. So yeah, for Inui, just probably leave her as is. Also of note, some may want, or one per clan may want to go up to rank 12 depending on which timelines you run, and just be aware that is a very for the clan thing to do, because rank 12 does cause some issues later on. So yeah, hopefully if someone asks you to do this, hopefully they tell you that yeah, it's gonna have some issues every now and then. However, considering this is one of those for the clan things, I assume you're going to be a designated rank 12 NUE anyway to borrow in those times where you want rank 12. Chiaru, still, she's mainly a substitute for Nanaka still, in case where that's desired. So 12-5 works perfectly fine. Hatsune, 12-5. Misaki, 12-5. Ex-Chika, do not touch. No touch. As Suzume, she can go rank 12-5 unless you're iceboxing her, but if you're iceboxing her, I don't need to tell you that. Esquiaro, just leave the midlife off. Damage isn't worth risking the loss of AUB, especially considering she's one of those units that may not go up to rank 13 immediately. Aoi, 12-5. Still quite a ways until her UE, but still know that if you plan to use her once her UE comes out, time is ticking. Make sure to farm those shards. Chica, do not touch. A lot of people still think she's not going to be used at all, and there's no point in not touching her. But Cyan kind of proved that she is, at this point, one of the better units to use in some of the loops, and kind of important especially on those cases where you can run double loop comps, or just routes where you do 2 loop setups and 1 regular setup. So for Chica, just imagine if you're running 2 loops, that's going to be very specific, and every single unit you don't use anywhere else that you can use in those, like Ru and Chica, are very valuable for those because it frees up other units. So Chica, I can only urge you, do not touch her, icebox her from now on to make sure you are going to be able to use her later on when she does see use, and she will see use. Same thing with Maho here. I know it's tempting to use her for PvP, and many people already have her at level cap with EX, even though it should be known by now that EX has a big impact on how she can be used in some of the timelines, and level as well has impact on how the timelines she can be used, same as level. So ideally, just don't touch her. Don't do it. It may seem worth it. I don't know you, I'm not gonna dictate it to you, but just know CN is gonna get her soon, and there's already being timelines developed, or they've already been developed for a long time to raise up specific Mahos for use with them, because some of them take some time to do. In the case of some of those that are low ranked, low level, that nobody really has outside of those really competitive players that iceboxed her from the very start of the server until now. And if you're one of those few, guess what, you're going to hit the jackpot, because it's been confirmed that there are really low level timelines with Maho where, for example, level 72 isn't even the lowest level she can go to see use. So yeah, Maho, in my opinion, really worth it to just not touch her and make sure you can use her on the widest range of timelines possible. Yui, yeah, another do not touch, but this one isn't really as important as the others. It's kind of, yeah, just for 6-star, just in case 6-star has some really optimal use where she's very specific, it's best to not touch her, or at least not brick her. Rank 11-3 is fine to keep her at. Most likely she's gonna want rank 12, but it's still unclear where she's going to be used at, so just no real point putting her up, aside from the fact that we're going to get EX2 dungeons soon, and I do think it's going to be worth building her for that. She's going to want 3 stars, 4 stars for that, and also a specific build, which could be either 11 or rank 12. I'm gonna check that out and update the gear guide with that soon, and also kind of check whether any of those builds cause issues later on, but I think it's just assumed that everyone's gonna build her for the EX2 cheese, where you just kind of heal through the damage at the end. Now, Yuki, 12-5, fairly simple PvP unit, not much here with him. If you do have him at rank 11, I'd be interested whether there's been any matchups or any cases where the extra TP boost was good to get UB earlier and avoid a self boost, because that's been theorized, but I haven't found any examples of that, so that'd be cool if you could let me know if you've had that. Kyoka, kind of like Skiaru, just leave the mid left off ideally. I think 4-star has much more leeway here, but still, especially for 5-star, I think leaving mid left off is really, really important, so make sure you do it. H Misaki, still, she's kind of like you. She loses so many TP stats that you really, really don't want to up her, and yeah, rank 12 just completely bricks her for the turbo comp, so just don't do it for now. Just keep her as is and have her as is. At this point, I think her CB use is over for the most part. I haven't seen any timelines where she's optimal in for the next couple CBs, and after that we're in a very different meta with mages. So at this point I think she's one of those units that can be built full PvP if you have her. So yeah, that's it for this time. It's been almost an hour now. I don't really have anything else to say for now, but I assume if I've left anything out, you people are going to let me know for sure, and I'm gonna check if there's anything like the Suzuna situation with my pull advice, and if I did make a critical error like that, I'm gonna make an announcement and rectify that. So yeah, if you have any feedback, let me know. Other than that, I hope you have a nice day. Goodbye.